Hey everyone, I'm here to help you relax and drift off tonight. If you enjoy using these videos to fall asleep, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more calming content. Share where you're watching from and what time it is for you. I'd love to know. Now settle into a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's start unwinding together. Amara Fielding, a professor of occult studies at the University of Alderbridge, received the black waxed letter on a rain-streaked morning. Within its ink-scrawled lines lay an irresistible promise. Dear Professor Fielding, your work on a shadow anima has drawn my attention. I invite you to Greyhaven Manor to study the Chamber of Shifting Shades. In return, I offer access to my family's arcane library. Lord Sebastian Greyhaven. Amara's pulse quickened. Her mentor had dismissed the manor's legends as superstition, but she craved proof. That autumn she set out under leaden skies, gripping her satchel of tomes and warding talismans. Greyhaven Manor rose from the clifftop like a monolith. Guards in silver-threaded doublets ushered Amara through torchlit halls adorned with ancestral portraits. At dusk, Lord Sebastian appeared, tall, austere, eyes shadowed by perpetual curiosity. He led her to a narrow corridor where the stone walls pulsed with an uncanny chill. Beyond a portcullis of gnarled oak lay the door to the chamber, black as obsidian, its surface etched with tracery of writhing tendrils. No handle glinted in the torchlight. Lord Sebastian pressed a hidden rune, and the door sighed open, revealing utter darkness. Armed only with a steel lantern, Amara crossed the threshold. Inside, her lantern's glow barely pierced the gloom. Shadows clung to the walls as living ink, stretching, twisting, pooling at her feet. Amara's breath caught as a shape detached itself from the far wall, coalescing into a figure cloaked in deep sable. Its eyes glowed like embers. "Welcome," it whispered, voice like silk across stone. "We have wondered when you would arrive." Amara raised her lantern, heart hammering. What are you?" "We are the Shadeborn," came the chorus of hushed voices. "Shadows of those who entered and never left. We dwell where light dares not rest." A sense of cold wonder seized Amara. She stepped deeper, scribbling notes in her journal. Each shadow bore a shape: a child clutching a doll, a woman's silhouette brushing hair back, a scholar peering through spectacles, each a memory trapped in dark. Daylight died behind her, and the lantern sputtered. Lord Sebastian's voice echoed, "1 hour, then the door closes without warning. Use your time wisely." Amara watched as the shadows drifted around her, a dance of silent echoes. She realized that each shadow carried a fragment of soul, bound here to feed on fear and fascination. If she took a piece of their knowledge, might she free them or trap herself? Driven by ambition, she invoked a binding spell from her notes. Tendrils of phosphorescent runes traced her arms. The shadows recoiled, then surged, whispering their memories into her mind. Secrets of lost alchemical transmutations, incantations of night witches, forbidden pacts older than memory. Amara's pen flew across the pages, but knowledge has a taste, bitter, corrosive. Visions of sorrow flashed in her mind, lamentations of those who died lonely in the dark. Her own reflection in the lantern's glass twisted into their shapes. Panic soared. As the final minute approached, Amara tore her gaze from the shadows and fled for the door. The Shadeborn surged, arms of darkness reaching. She dashed through the corridor as lantern sparks sputtered. Behind her, the door slammed shut in a final toll. The chamber sealed once more. Outside, Lord Sebastian waited, his face grave. "You have seen their truth. Few emerge unchanged." Amara, trembling, nodded. She clutched her journal, its pages filled with forbidden lore, and realized the shadows had not only given knowledge, but taken a piece of her soul in return. Her reflection in the hallway's polished armor appeared hollow-eyed, etched with their sorrow. Returned to Alderbridge, Amara lectured on the nature of shadows as though recounting a dream. Students shivered at her fervor. In secret, she pored over her journal, deciphering the incantations and empathic sigils. With each passage studied, her own shadow in the hearth lurched and flickered late at night, alive, restless. She began to question, was the chamber darkness without or darkness within? Each time she attempted to banish the shadows from her mind, they returned, bearing new insights and new griefs. Her life became a constant vigil against the night. Yet from the darkness arose purpose. Amara founded the Institute of Shadow Studies, determined to master and perhaps redeem the Shadeborn. She sought a way to free them from living forever in silence, to offer them dawn in exchange for their secrets. Years later, Greyhaven Manor still perches atop its cliffs, its chamber of shifting shades sealed but not forgotten. Amara's journals line the Institute's endless shelves. Scholars debate whether shadows truly live, or whether they are but echoes of the light we refuse to see. On storm-tossed nights, a traveler may glimpse flickers of motion behind Greyhaven's high windows, silhouettes that twist and yearn. And if one leans close, the whispered invitation can be heard. Enter, and let us show you what hides within. For as long as curiosity drives the heart, the room where shadows live waits, its door ever poised to open, its depths ever hungry for another pair of eyes to see. Evelyn Marlowe, a professor of folklore at Merriwood University, first heard of the dream-glass window in the asylum records. Patients who claimed to glimpse lost visions at night spoke of places they had never visited, songs they had never heard, yet somehow recognized. Evelyn, driven by the meticulous precision of academia and a personal longing to recover a childhood lullaby her mind had erased, resolved to see the window for herself. She secured permission from the reclusive Lady Ashcroft and arrived at the estate on a gray autumn afternoon. The foyer's wallpaper peeled in curling roses of moss, and the air smelled of damp paper and fading grandeur. Evelyn approached the staircase, guided by a silent but insistent pull, until she stood before the window's carved frame. Behind her, the estate's staff exchanged uneasy glances. The housekeeper, Mrs. Tremaine, warned in hushed tones, "Once you look, your dreams may claim you. Be ready for what you have lost." That evening, alone in the high-ceilinged drawing room, Evelyn extinguished the lamps. Moonlight gathered at the dream glass, its surface rippling like still water disturbed. In its depths, she saw her childhood nursery, soft pastel walls, a cradle where she had once slept, her mother singing, "Sleep, my love," beneath the moon. The lullaby's melody drifted through Evelyn's veins, a warmth long buried. Tears blurred her vision. But as her breath slowed, the window's scene shifted. The nursery aged in moments. Paint peeled, shadows lengthened, the cradle emptied. Evelyn felt the ache of years lost to grief, of memories unlived. She pressed a hand to the glass, and the lullaby stuttered, then faded altogether, leaving only silence and the echo of what she had forgotten. Determined to understand the window, Evelyn scoured Lady Ashcroft's journals in the estate's dusty library. She discovered entries from past generations, each describing a visitor undone or uplifted by the dream glass. A gambler lost his riches chasing visions of victories long past. A poet regained his muse but lost his reason. A grieving widow had glimpsed her husband's first kiss anew, then vanished into delirium. A late journal written in trembling script noted a possible mechanism. Beneath the window lay a hidden chamber lined with obsidian mirrors and bound runes, a focus for dream magics that wove the viewer's own psyche into living images. But the map to the chamber was incomplete. Evelyn realized she must descend into the estate's undercroft to find the missing pieces. Late that night, Evelyn lit a single lantern and crept through a trap door obscured by tatters of tapestry. She found herself in a low-arched corridor. The walls glistened with damp, the silence pressed at her ears. She followed scraps of marble tile, once part of the hidden map, and pieces of broken mirror until she reached a sealed iron door, etched with crescent moons and stag antlers. With trembling hands, she forced the door open. Inside lay the chamber of obsidian mirrors, dozens of black frames, each reflecting her lantern's glow like dark eyes. In the center stood a stone dais bearing a single shard of smoky glass, the dream glass's twin. As she stepped forward, one mirror stirred. Her own reflection shifted into scenes of her youth. Golden afternoons reading in meadows, her brother laughing in a stream. Their images were children, untouched by destiny's cruelty. Evelyn gasped, heart pounding. As she reached for the shard, the mirrors quivered. From their depths emerged phantoms, images of every memory she had lost or suppressed. School friendships dissolved into tears. The day her brother drowned flickered in pale horror. The joys of first love dimmed into shadows. Evelyn reeled, trying to look away, but the mirror spirits pressed close, whispering, "Remember us if you dare, but we will follow you beyond the window." Terror seized her as she realized the shard's power. To restore her dreams was to bind them eternally to her soul, preventing any future peace. To leave them behind, she would have to sacrifice the shard and her chance at recovery. Evelyn emerged from the undercroft at dawn's pallid light, carrying the shard concealed within her coat. She ascended to the drawing room. The dream glass window pulsed with its silent call. There Lady Ashcroft awaited, pale and stately as a marble statue. "You have seen the twin," the lady said, voice echoing. "Now you must choose. Reclaim your forgotten dreams, knowing they will never leave you, or seal the window's power for another's sake." Evelyn's heart wrenched. She thought of that lullaby, of the nursery's warmth, of untrodden joys. She placed the shard before the window, aligning its facets with the glass's runes. The spikes of the dawn sun struck the pane, and the shard's light flared, then imploded inward, shattering into motes of silver that drifted into the window's frame. The dream glass trembled violently. Scenes of forgotten dreams flickered, then dissolved into mist. The window's smoky surface turned opaque, and the carved runes lost their glow. Evelyn felt a hollow ache, her lullaby, her childhood, fading once more into oblivion. Years passed. The dream glass window remained, but its power lay dormant. Lady Ashcroft closed the estate's doors to visitors. In the drawing room, velvet curtains shielded the pane from sight. Evelyn continued her scholarly work, teaching folklore with a new lesson: that some dreams are too precious to cling to if they cost the waking mind its peace. She spoke of choice, of memory's burden, and of letting go with grace. On quiet nights when the moon's edge grazed the heavens, the Ashcroft drawing room's curtains would stir as though breathed upon. In the silent hush, some claimed they saw the faintest shimmer on the window's surface, a reminder that within the dream glass lie dreams waiting to be cherished once more. But none would dare draw back the curtains, for they knew the price of remembering and the freedom found in gentle forgetfulness. And so the window stands, a testament to the fragile balance between lost dreams and the peace of living. Silent, still, and always watching, waiting for a heart brave enough to look once more. Oron Gade, eldest son of the baker in the mist-shrouded village of Brambleford, never dreamed of departure. He lived among the scent of fresh bread and the laughter of apprentices, content in his daily rhythm. But when his fiancée, Eleanor, fell into a deep, unspoken sorrow, her eyes distant as though haunted by some nameless longing, Oren's own heart became restless. Though he pleaded for her to share her grief, Eleanor merely pressed his hand and whispered, "I dream of a road that never ends. I must find it." On a moonlit eve beneath the silver willow by the river, Eleanor left a note folded in the folds of her shawl. Oren found it at dawn. My love, forgive me. I must follow the call of my own heart. Find me where the way whispers through stone. Clutching the note, Oren raced to the willow's hollow roots. There he found a single cobblestone, faintly gleaming in the gray morning light, marked with a spiral rune he had never seen. His sight blurred with tears, yet he pressed his foot against the rune. The ground trembled. A narrow path of cobblestones curved into the mist. Oren stepped onto the wandering way. The path wound through ancient woods where each tree seemed older than the sky. Moss-clad trunks bore carvings of faces, anguished, joyful, resigned, each echoing a traveler's final emotions. As Oren passed, he heard rustling whispers. Why did you leave? Turn back while you can. Find me, please. His heart ached at every voice he could not wholly place. With dawn's second light, he reached a clearing where sunlight pierced the canopy in opal beams. There, among the ferns, he found Eleanor's pendant, her silver star, worn smooth by years of wear. Grief and hope clashed in his chest. He tucked the pendant into his tunic and continued, wiping tears from his cheeks. The forest deepened into twilight. Nightbirds called. Oren set camp beneath a gnarled oak. As he slept, the whispering wind wove his own memories into the air. The day he first met Eleanor by the baker's stall, the promise they made beneath the willow. It was as though the way absorbed his past, laying it out before him. On the third day, the trail climbed rocky terraces to a great chasm. The walls of the gorge shimmered with mineral veins that caught the sunlight in 1,000 microflashes, like fallen stars fused to stone. A narrow ledge ran along the precipice, too slim for error. Below, a river roared unseen. Oren passed with the pendant's weight comforting his chest. At the gorge's apex, he discovered an inscription in ancient script. Those who would carry their burdens onward must shed their attachments. He pressed his hand to the rune. Instantly, the pendant hummed and glowed. With trembling resolve, he removed it and laid it at the stone's base. The glow faded into the rock, and Oren felt a lightness, yet also a pang of loss. He pressed onward, the chasm narrowing until at last he crested the cliff and saw the path vanish into a veil of mist. The mist receded into a glade of crystalline pillars, upright shards of glass arrayed in silent rows. Oren realized he stood in the city of mirrors, rumored to reflect not one's face but one's inner self. Within each pillar, figures flickered, compassion and cruelty, bravery and fear, love and regret. Oren walked among them. In one glass stood a figure with stooped shoulders, eyes hollow from over-remembrance. In another, a radiant being bound by vows unbroken. He touched the pillar, showing his own reflection, and his visage shattered into fragments. Each shard revealed a memory, the soft laugh of Eleanor, the stern look of his father, the fearful nights he'd hidden his dreams. A single pillar remained unshattered, the one reflecting a face at peace, eyes determined, bearing the sorrow of leaving all behind. Oren realized that to continue the way, he must accept every part of himself, his attachments, his regrets, and his courage. With silent tears, he embraced the mirror. The pillars dissolved, leaving the trail open once more. The way led him into rolling fields where crops of silver grain ripened beneath a violet sky. No farmer tilled these lands. No grain was reaped. The stalks bowed as though mourning their own fate. Oren reached down and took a handful of seed. The grain sang, soft lament, the song of lives that labored, yet saw nothing born. He realized these fields were the unfulfilled dreams of countless travelers. By sowing the seed into the dust, he honored those hopes. He scattered the grain across the ground. Instantly, pale shoots sprouted, glowing faintly. A breeze rose, carrying a whisper of gratitude, and the fields brightened. Oren knew the way tested not only the traveler's heart, but his compassion for all who had walked before. At journey's end, or so it seemed, Oren ascended a mountain whose peak lay beyond the clouds. Each step took hours. Each breath burned with cold. The path never ended. New switchbacks spiraled above and below. At last he paused on a ledge, overlooking an ocean of cloud radiating the first glow of dawn. He realized the way was endless by design, to draw out the traveler's spirit, honing it through trial and discovery. He thought of Eleanor, her wish to find the road of her soul. With a deep breath, Oren called across the dawn. Eleanor, follow your heart. I go for now, but you, carry the light of the way in your soul. He closed his eyes. The path beneath his boots shimmered once, then vanished, leaving only stone and sky. Oren felt himself drawn inward, through memory and longing, finding the truth. No road ends, for every answer reveals another question, and every step carried him closer to himself. Years later, Oren's bones rested in the chapel of Brambleford, his journal bound in pale cobblestone dust leather upon the altar. Pilgrims came to place tokens of their own journeys beside it, a shattered compass, a silver pendant, a stalk of silver grain. Under the silver willow, a single cobblestone glimmered, freshly etched with spiral runes, and in the hush of dusk, those haunted by yearning could hear the faintest echo on the wind. Step forth, soul of longing, embrace the way, for it never ends. And so the wandering way remained, an endless path for every heart brave enough to follow its shimmering stones into the unknown. Isabella Trent was a scholar of antiquities, her life devoted to dusty volumes and forgotten lore. She had spent years tracking fragments of myth, the breathstone of the sky giant, the tears of a river nymph, and now the mask of shifting visages. In the vaulted library of Windsor Hall, she unearthed a single parchment. When the mask finds its wearer, the face will form, but the true self must endure each guise or be lost forever. Her pulse quickened. A mask that could grant any face? As one whose own countenance had become weary with melancholy, her eyes too lined, her youth too faded, Isabella felt both skeptical and desperate. She resolved to find the mask no matter the cost. On a moonless eve, Isabella tracked the mask to a derelict merchant's house at the edge of Windermere's quarter of fallen trades. Among broken pottery and scattered tomes, she found it, an oval of obsidian black resin, featureless under her lantern's glow. With shaking fingers, she lifted it and placed it over her face. For a breath, she saw only darkness. Then warmth pulled across her skin, and the mask's surface rippled. Two emerald eyes blinked open where no eyes had been, cheekbones lifted like perfect carved marble, and lips curved with subtle confidence. Isabella's breath caught. She saw her own body reflected in a shattered mirror, but with a face she did not recognize, youthful, unlined, and luminous. She tore the mask away, trembling. In the mirror's fractured glass, her original visage stared back, paler now, worn by longing. But she tasted power, the chance to walk unseen, to charm, to become someone else. She tucked the mask into her satchel and fled into the night. By dawn, Isabella's new face had begun to fade. Panicked, she donned the mask again, this time willing it to restore her borrowed visage. The mask obeyed, reshaping once more into beauty's ideal. Yet when she removed it at sunrise, her true face felt less familiar. The contours had softened, lines sharpened, her original self slipping. Terrified, she sought the counsel of her friend, Cedric Vale, a physician versed in rare maladies. In his candlelit study, she revealed the mask. Cedric peered closely. Arcane craftsmanship, he mused. It bonds with the skin at a molecular level. Every change reconfigures your flesh in memory. He spoke of legends, wearers who had lost their first face entirely, their minds unraveling as identity blurred. You must find its maker or destroy it before you vanish. Isabella's heart pounded. She realized her obsession had become a trap. The mask offered endless facades, but no path back to herself. Determined, Isabella and Cedric pored over every fragment of lore. They traced the mask's origin to a remote hamlet in the Moonfall Mountains, where a reclusive artisan named Nyala once practiced alchemy with moonfire. They embarked at dawn, Isabella wearing her original face. She dared not risk another change until she knew a cure. Their journey led through storm-lashed passes and forests bright with moonlight. Bandits sought to steal her mask. Wolves stalked beneath the pines. Isabella's resolve hardened with each step. She would reclaim her identity or pay the ultimate price. At last, they found Nyala's workshop, an ancient mill carved into the mountain's heart. Inside, gears of moonstone and copper whirred with magic, and the walls were lined with sketches of masks, each more intricate than the last. At the center stood Nyala herself, an ageless woman whose face was half burned away, replaced by silver clockwork. Nyala regarded Isabella with sorrowful eyes. I fashioned the mask from shards of moonlight, seeking to grant the despairing the chance to become anew, she explained. But I failed to bind the spirit of identity. The mask steals what it grants. It reshapes the soul as well as the skin. Isabella lifted the mask. Please, help me undo this. I cannot lose myself. Nyala shook her head. The only way to break the mask's hold is to confront every face you've worn and accept each fragment of yourself within it. Only then can you reclaim your original self and sever the mask's bond. She handed Isabella a silver hand mirror etched with runes. See all that you have been. Then with trembling hands, Nyala dismantled her own clockwork face, showing Isabella that no one escapes loss unscarred. Returning to Cedric's lodge, Isabella sat before the silver mirror and placed the mask upon her face once more. The borrowed visage formed, then dissolved in the mirror's glow, revealing another, a merchant's kindly features she had worn to gain favor. She whispered her memories, the greed that had driven her to deceit. The face blurred and then melted away. Again she donned the mask. This time it shaped a soldier's scarred countenance, the face she had used to command respect. She spoke of battles fought and lives taken, and of guilt that haunted her. The visage softened in the mirror, dissolving once more. All night she wore and removed the mask, facing each borrowed face and confessing its hidden truth. The diplomat's mask and the lies told in gilded halls. The beggar's guile, the petty thefts she committed out of hunger. The scholar's guise, the dreams she had sacrificed for ambition. As each face faded before the mirror, Isabella felt a weight lift from her soul. By dawn, only one face remained. Her own, pale and lined, but unchanged by the mask's magic. With the first rays of sunlight, Isabella stepped out onto Cedric's veranda. She raised the mask in both hands and spoke the name of every face it had given her, her faces of power and of shame. Then, with a single strike of her axe, she shattered the mask against the stone parapet. Its pieces glittered like starlight, then disintegrated into dust that the morning breeze carried away. Isabella touched her own face in the dawn light, feeling its contours real and irrevocable. Cedric emerged, eyes brimming, and embraced her. You are yourself once more, he whispered. Isabella returned to Windermere, her maps and scrolls replaced by a new calling, to help others find and accept their true faces. She opened the House of Mirrors, a sanctuary where seekers confronted their own reflections, confessed their hidden truths, and learned that no mask, however beguiling, could grant peace. She wrote her story in a leather-bound tome, The Faces I Have Worn, a chronicle of every visage in the soul within. In its final chapter, she penned, Let no shadowed mask tempt you to become another. Embrace your own face, however marred, for it is the map to your true self. And though the world still whispered of a mask made of moonlight and sorrow, none who visited the House of Mirrors ever forgot Isabella's lesson, that the greatest transformation lies not in changing one's face, but in accepting the face that bears the journey's scars. Emran Nail was a cartographer by birth and obsession. His maps adorned the Hall of Duke Hallward in Briarcliff, tracing every mountain, river, and ruin. Yet none could chart the unseen realms beyond the horizon, realms he yearned to discover. When his master's daughter, Lady Aveline, fell to a wasting sickness that no healer could cure, Emran's maps turned useless, his pride hollow. On the night of the Midwinter Festival, Emran stood alone atop Castle Hill, staring into the pale haze. A phantom wind carried a scent of ozone in distant seas. As the final firework faded, a line of glowing cobblestones materialized, spiraling into the mist. He recognized at once the glyphs, not on any map, but dreamt only in the half-remembered tales his grandmother once told him. The way of lost stars had come. With a tremor of hope and dread, Emran stepped onto the first stone. The cobbled road led him through veils of mist to a shoreline of pale quartz sand. Silver waves lapped against a beach strewn with fragments of star glass, shards that glowed faintly when touched. Emran picked one up and felt a pulse in his palm, as if it held a heartbeat. At the water's edge lay a small boat carved from white bone. Its prow bore the sigil of a winged serpent, and across its gunwale ran a phrase in Emran's grandmother's language: "To realms forgotten, where dreams may yet be born." He stepped into the boat, and it drifted out under a sky lit by two suns, one green, one violet, hovering at dawn's edge. As Emran paddled, the sea shifted beneath him. Sunken spires breached the surface. Coral palaces shimmered below, and creatures of impossible geometry swam in and out of sight. The shore of shifting dreams faded into mist behind him as the road continued on the water. When the boat touched land again, it was on the quay of a city built beneath a lilac moon. Tower roofs gleamed in purple light. Bridges of crystalline glass spanned canals of molten silver. Statues of winged philosophers stood sentinel on every corner. Merchants in twilight-hued robes hawked wares forged from nebula dust. Emran wandered into a marketplace at the heart of the city, where a banner read, "Welcome, wanderer from forgotten paths." A tall figure draped in star-patterned robes greeted him. "I am Mariol the Archivist," she said, her voice echoing like wind through chimes. "This is Astravor, city of half-remembered knowledge. Here, every thought once lost finds a home." In Astravor's grand library, Emran discovered tomes that recorded events never in any mortal year: the founding of worlds in crystal conclaves, battles between sentient storms, reign of silver birds that carried dreams. Yet one volume remained sealed, the Codex of Cured Hearts. Emran's heart ached for Aveline's cure. He begged Mariol to grant him the Codex. "First," the archivist told him, "you must add your own memory to our vault, your journey on the way of lost stars." Emran stood before a mirror of polished obsidian and recounted every step. His love for Aveline, his shame at failing her, his hope in the road's promise. As he spoke, his reflection shimmered and a memory scroll unrolled, taking its place among Astravor's archives. The Codex unsealed with a whisper. Emran opened its pages. To cure the broken heart, one must bind hope to memory and let it flow across worlds. A single phrase glowed: "Bring the heart's echo to the rose of rebirth." Mariol smiled. "Your path unfolds further. Seek the rose on the forest of silent whispers." Bidding farewell to Astravor, Emran found the way's next cobbled marker at the end of an aqueduct that vanished into sunrise. He stepped through, and the forest rose around him, tall lilac trees whose leaves resembled moth wings in vines that hummed soft melodies. The hush was so absolute he could hear his own heartbeat. Deep within the forest lay a grove of pale roses, petals like opalescent tears, growing around a stone basin of still water. The air tasted of longing. Remembering the Codex's words, Emran hummed Aveline's favorite lullaby, letting the melody drift across the grove. The roses trembled, shedding petals that drifted into the basin. The water glowed, and from its surface rose a single bloom, its center pulsing with warm light. Emran plucked the rose of rebirth and pressed it to his chest. He felt every note of the lullaby become a current in his heart, hope weaving through sorrow. And so armed, he sought the final passage home. In the forest darkness, Emran found the last waymarker, a spiral of runes etched in moss-covered stones. He placed the rose at its center, reciting the Codex's incantation. By stars' lost path and memory's song, let love's cure guide me where I belong. The stones glowed in spectral fire, unfolding into a tunnel of starlit mist that poured him back onto Blackmoor's Hill. The dawn he saw was familiar, yet fresh, golden light pouring over Briarcliff's spires and the Black Sea beyond. Clutching the rose, Emran raced to Aveline's bedside in the manor's high chamber. Her cheeks were still pale, but her breaths were steadier. He placed the rose upon her chest and whispered the lullaby one last time. Petal by petal, the bloom's light pulsed across her heart, knitting hope into her veins. Aveline's eyes fluttered open, first confusion, then joy, speaking his name in a trembling voice. With Aveline restored, Emran set aside his old maps. The Way of Lost Stars had given him new purpose, to record the realms he had seen and to guide others upon paths that defied every boundary. He bound his journals into 12 volumes, the Chronicles of Forgotten Worlds, illustrated with star charts, moonglyphs, and lullabies of roselight memory. In Briarcliff, he founded the House of the Wayward Star, where travelers who glimpsed the way could share their tales. Aveline, healed and hopeful, presided over the Hall of Rebirth, tending rose gardens that bloomed beneath lanterns of starlight. Together, they taught that every road, no matter how lost, leads home when guided by love and memory, and that forgotten realms await those who seek beyond the horizon of the known. Centuries later, riders still spoke of a road that appeared when hope seemed lost, a road that shimmered beneath the stars and carried them to realms where dreams slept deep. The Chronicles of Forgotten Worlds remained a beacon to scholars and dreamers, and upon clear moonlit nights, Aveline's roses glowed in the gardens of Briarcliff, white petals pulsing in gentle rhythms, reminding all who saw them that no path is truly lost and no realm truly forgotten, so long as the heart remembers its way. It was well past harvest season when the bell tolled. The autumn moon hung wan and sickle thin, and frost jeweled the thatched roofs. Marin Hawk, daughter of the chapel's keeper, stirred from uneasy dreams as the air thrummed with that uncanny resonance. She sat bolt upright in her narrow bed, heart pounding. Through her window she saw the tower's silhouette against the sky, and as she watched, the great bronze bade the world tremble. By dawn, a pall of dread had settled over Gallowmere. In the market square, merchants spoke of the toll in fearful whispers. It can only mean, they said, that disaster follows on its heels. Farmers abandoned fields to pray. Blacksmiths laid aside their hammers to gaze at the horizon. From the old mill to the lighthouse, every soul wondered what calamity the bell might foretell. The next sunrise found the town's council convened in the Guildhall. Mayor Aldwin Merrick, grave of face, presided. Seated with him were the abbess, Sister Lena, the master builder Rowan Cortez, and the healer Illyra Miles. Marin accompanied her father, Keeper Bryn Hawk, trembling as he bore the keys to the belfry. The bell tolled for the first time in 80 years, Mayor Merrick began. We must prepare. Yet to prepare for what? Flood? Famine? Worse? Sister Lena knelt, eyes closed. The bell's voice speaks of imbalance, nature's warning. We must seek the old lore buried in St. Elfric's crypt and interpret its omens. Rowan, ever practical, tapped his staff. Walls need reinforcing. Food stores must be shored. Let us act on solid steps rather than superstition. But Elira's gaze held Merrin fast. The land balks at our hubris. The bell tolls to remind us we are mortal. If we heed its call with humility, caring for the poor, mending rifts, sharing our stores, we may avert disaster. A compromise formed. Search the crypt's tablets, secure the town's defenses, and rally the community to unity. Merrin crept through candlelit corridors beneath St. Elfric's, her lantern casting trembling shadows upon stone arches. At her side, scholar Tamsin Reed, whose keen mind had deciphered half-forgotten runes, led the way to the crypt. There, carved tablets recounted earlier tollings, a plague in 426, a flood in 712, and a dragon's passage in 1041. Each entry ended with the same admonition: hear the bell, act with compassion, lest calamity be unbound. Tamsin traced a final, weather-worn tablet. When the tide of mercy runs dry, the bell shall toll, and from fractured hearts will rise the storm. Merrin's breath caught. It warns not only of disaster, but that our own failures, our cruelty or neglect, will summon it. They emerged at dawn's light, hearts heavy with the crypt's counsel. As days passed, Gallowmere was plagued not by natural disasters, but by human strife. Corn rotted in untended fields as strangers fought with longtime neighbors over dwindling stores. In the smithy, Rowan's hammer rang hollow, his forge falling silent as men quarreled over metal. Sister Lena's alms for the poor went unclaimed in bitterness. Elira found her chapel door barred by angry parishioners demanding reprieve. Moran watched her beloved town fray at the seams. She realized the bell's warning had gone unheeded. Compassion had withered. One midnight, as the bell tolled again, its note deeper, more sorrowful, she rushed to the square, standing beneath its shadow. Raising her voice, she spoke to the sleeping town. We are the authors of our own ruin. The bell tolls because we turn from each other. If we act in charity, if we heal instead of harm, we can quell its lament. Her cry carried through empty streets. Dawn light found Merrin kneeling before the bell tower with Rowan, Illyra, Tamsin, and small clusters of townsfolk gathering, knelt in prayer and resolve. Together they vowed to restore unity and mercy. Over the next fortnight, Gallowmere changed. Meadow farmers shared their dwindling grain with the hungry. The smith's forge glowed nightly as weapons were laid aside and plowshares turned. Church bells rang with hymns of solidarity. The sick flocked to Elira, who now found her doors open and hearts softened. Arguments in the tavern transformed into planning sessions for mutual aid. On the night of the second full moon after the first toll, Moran stood with the council beneath a sky of molten silver. The bell tower loomed above. The hour passed, yet the bell remained silent. A hush of relief followed, but Merrin knew they must remain vigilant. But complacency is a fragile shield. Months later, when the spring thaw arrived, a deluge descended, a cataclysm of rain that burst the river Lartha's banks. Homes were swept away, bridges collapsed, and livestock perished. The bell tolled in the heart of that flood, its peal drowned in the roaring waters, but still it rang. Amid the storm, Merrin and Tamsin braved the floodwaters, rescuing villagers clinging to rooftops. Rowan and his apprentices built emergency levees. Illyra comforted the bereaved, her prayers as earnest as gold. The community united once more, but at great cost. Queen's Bridge lay shattered, farms lay bereft of seed, and memories of the flood scarred every face. When the waters finally receded, Gallowmere found itself at another crossroads. The bell had told, despite their earlier compassion, what lesson remained. In the charred remains of Queen's Bridge, Marin discovered a final inscription, etched by some long-ago apprentice. Disaster refines the heart. Compassion cannot shield us from all storms, but it gives us strength to rebuild what is broken. She unfurled the banner she and the villagers had crafted after the first toll, Mercy Unites, and hung it upon the ruins. Together they cleared debris, salvaged timber, and vowed to build a new bridge stronger and more beautiful than before. Months of labor followed. As the new Queen's Bridge arched gracefully over the restored river, townsfolk gathered for its dedication. Marin stood with the council beneath the tower of St. Elfric's. As they called the bridge, Bridge of Mercy, the bell tolled, once gently, as though in blessing. Years passed and Galamir prospered. The bell's tolls became rarer, but no less sacred. Each time it rang unbidden, the villagers remembered its lesson, that compassion alone cannot prevent every disaster, but without it, no triumph endures. Marin, now keeper of the bell tower alongside her mother's old post as scribe, recorded each toll in the Chronicles of Mercy. On nights of clear moonlight, she would climb the spiral stairs, place her hand upon the bronze, and whisper a prayer for watchfulness. And so the bell of Harbinger's call remained, a sentinel of sound and spirit, tolling before disaster, reminding all who heard its voice that the truest safeguard against calamity lies in hearts bound by mercy and in hands ever ready to rebuild what darkness seeks to destroy. Aaron Marlowe was a cartographer's apprentice, precise of mind and steady of hand, but his compass had long ceased to point true. He had chased his elder sister, Saris, into the shrouded forest 3 years ago, determined to bring her home after she vanished chasing rumors of hidden realms. Each dawn found him one step further from Emberfall, the city he once called home. By the blood-red moon of his 23rd year, Aaron stood on a windswept heath beneath a sky fractured by lightning. Exhausted, he sank to his knees and saw a soft glow dancing across the grass. There, radiating ivory light, lay the lantern of guiding flame. Its gleam was gentle yet insistent, a silent promise of direction. Kneeling, Aaron cradled the lantern in his calloused hands. At the instant his fingers brushed the wick, the wind stilled, the moon paused its dance, and a single trembling voice echoed in his mind. "Follow. I will guide you." Aaron rose, lantern aloft, and stepped toward the black tree line of the shrouded forest. Where his feet faltered, the lantern's light poured forth in a ribbon of gold, illuminating hidden paths between gnarled oaks draped in mist. Each step brought new wonders, glowing mushrooms, dew that sparkled like crushed diamonds, and the distant sound of flowing water that no map had marked. Aaron followed until he emerged at a hidden pool, its surface reflecting the fractured moon. At the pool's edge knelt a young woman, her hair dark as raven's wing, weeping. When Aaron called her name, Anya, her tears stilled. "I've hunted my brother these many moons," she whispered, "only to find this pool that mocks my sorrow." As she touched the water, the lantern's glow shifted to a warmer hue and traced a faint path into the forest's heart. Aaron offered her the lantern, and together they stepped beyond the pool's edge, bound by shared loss. By dawn, the lantern guided them to the village of Murmured Farewells, an abandoned hamlet where the walls still reverberated with villagers' parting words. As Anya and Aaron passed, the lantern's light awakened echoes, a mother's final lullaby, a baker's last morning greeting, and the smith's echoing hammer's final strike. The two wandered lane after lane, tracing the lantern's glow to a collapsed cellar beneath the old chapel. In the cellar's depths lay a broken cradle, its tiny blanket stained with years of tears. A voice fluttered against the stone, the village blacksmith's son, hidden by walls that had swallowed him whole. With trembling hands, Anya retrieved the child's favorite toy, a carved wooden horse, and placed it in the cradle. The lantern's flame flared once, and the voice rose in joyful relief. Though the child had long since passed from the world of the living, the lantern's light honored his memory, and the echoes subsided to peaceful silence. Aaron and Anya emerged at the crest of the Greenspire Hills, the lantern's flame steady against a rising sun. They paused by a weather-beaten signpost bearing no arrows, its wood warped by wind and time. Aaron unrolled his maps, lines and symbols that meant nothing in these hidden places. Frustrated, he set them aside. "Trust the lantern," Anya said softly. Aaron hesitated, then nodded. Holding the lantern before him, he felt its warmth guide his heart rather than his mind. Each step down the hillside felt certain, and slowly the labyrinth of wooded gullies yielded a narrow trail of moss-covered stones. As they followed, Aaron's compass, long silent, trembled, then pointed true north once again. He realized that the lantern's guidance was not merely about light, it was about rediscovering one's inner compass. Weeks passed as the lantern led them through sunlit meadows and moonlit marshes until they reached the Isle of Forgotten Vows, a small crag of rock in the middle of a vast lake, connected to the shore by a rusted chain bridge. Legends told that lovers made oaths here, and that the lake bore the tears of promises broken. As they crossed, the lantern's glow turned soft and mournful, casting rippling patterns on the water. At the isle's heart stood an altar of white stone, etched with runes of oath-binding. Orion placed the lantern upon the altar and called Ceres's name into the still air. The runes lit with silver fire, and around them arose a host of ghostly figures, lovers, friends, and kin, whose promises had been forgotten. Each spoke a single vow of love, unspoken. "I will return to you. Forgive me, my heart regrets. I keep you always in my dreams." Finally, a single figure stepped forward. Ceres, fragile and pale, her eyes wide with tearful wonder. She reached out, and Irene felt her hand brush his cheek, though she could not cross into the living world. Her voice, carried on the breeze, whispered, "Thank you for remembering." The lantern's light flared, and with a final, silver-bright pulse, the ghostly vows were released. The echo of promises filled the isle, then faded into dawn's gentle breeze. The bridge imploded into vapor, leaving the isle safe once more. Aaron and Anya returned to Emberfall under a sky alive with stars. Anya's brother was found at last, lost to the forest's labyrinth, but now remembered and laid to rest in a proper grave. Aaron, too, found closure. Ceres's memory affirmed, he placed the lantern atop her gravestone and watched the flame dance in the breeze. Yet as the sun rose, the lantern's light dimmed, but did not vanish. Aaron realized that the lantern of guiding flame required new keepers to rekindle its promise. He and Anya resolved to protect the lantern, guiding others to lost hopes and buried dreams. In time, Aaron and Anya founded the Order of the Guiding Flame. Within the ancient chapel near Emberfall, they built an oratory where the lantern burned ceaselessly. Wanderers and scholars came, a poet seeking the voice she lost to silence, a soldier haunted by fallen comrades, a child yearning for parents taken by plague. Each seeker brought their sorrow to the lantern's light. Under the keeper's guidance, they found hidden paths, not to another realm, but to the lost corners of their own hearts. The poet's words flowed anew. The soldier's nightmares were soothed by companionship. The child found kinship in an adoptive family. Generations have passed, and the Order of the Guiding Flame endures. The lantern's flame still glows in the oratory's alcove, its silver bronze casing polished by countless hands, its wick replenished by the tears of those it has guided. Emberfall grew into a city of gentle kindness, its nightly bell reminding citizens that each soul's echo deserves to be heard. On moonlit nights, if you stand by the chapel's stained glass windows, you may glimpse the lantern's light dancing among the shadows, calling softly to the lost, guiding them home. And those who follow its glow discover that every lost way can be found, every forgotten dream rekindled, and every hidden heart restored by the steady, unyielding flame of a single guiding lantern. Ava Finch, a doctoral candidate in comparative literature, had spent her summer cataloging loans at Marlowe's. She delighted in the musty scent of age paper and the quiet thrill of discovering marginalia from long-gone readers. One rainy afternoon, while hunting for a 17th century sermon, she stumbled upon the black leather book. Curiosity seized her. No catalog entry, no record of purchase, as if the book had simply appeared. That evening, alone in the shop's reading room, Ava laid the book on the worn oak table. Its cover was cool, the leather smooth as a whisper. She opened to the first page. The ink trembled in elaborate script. Reader, step within these pages and know the world I dared not leave. Turn the leaf and welcome to your own story. She shivered. Rational mind warred with intrigue. Yet before she could hesitate, her fingers brushed the words. A single sentence scrawled beneath, "Do not fear. Once you begin, you will know no other path." And so she read on. Ava's eyes traced the opening paragraph. It was a twilight that clung to the throat of the valley, where shadows danced like memories long since drowned. Her heartbeat slowed, her vision tunneled. The edge of the table blurred. She blinked and found herself standing in a mist-shrouded valley at dusk, her hands still clutching the book's pages. The reading lamp behind her had vanished. Only a blood-red sun hung low on the horizon. Ava's breath fogged in the chill air. She gasped, pressing a hand to her mouth. Behind her, the table, in Marlowe's reading room, was gone. The valley lay silent. Mist curled around jagged rocks and skeletal trees. Ava opened the book again. The paragraph continued. "Step lightly, reader, for the world within awaits your next command. Speak the tale, and it shall obey." Trembling, Ava spoke aloud. I want to return home." The words sounded feeble in the hush. Nothing happened. She turned another page. "To leave, one must finish the story, but this story is yours to write." Ava's mind raced. The book had become a portal. Only by completing its narrative could she escape. And so she walked into the mist, searching for the next passage. After hours of wandering, Ava came upon a cluster of moss-covered cottages. Smoke curled from chimneys. On the door of the first, she read carved letters. "Welcome to Halcyon's Edge, where lives pause in hope and fear." She opened the door to find empty rooms, dust motes dancing in the final light. On a table lay a leather-strapped journal, the book's next chapter. Opening it, she read, "You stand at Halcyon's edge, where every soul lingers between the world that was and the dreams deferred. Here, stories unravel unless someone gives them voice." From the hearth came a sudden rustle. Ava turned to see ghostly figures stepping from the shadows. A mother clutching a locket, a soldier in tattered uniform, a boy holding a broken toy. Their lips moved in silent mouths. They stared at her with hollow eyes. Ava realized these were readers who had entered before and never written an ending. Ava's throat tightened, but she steadied herself. She lifted the journal. "Speak their stories," she read. "For each tale you complete, another passage opens toward home." She knelt before the boy. His voice cracked like summer lightning. "I never said goodbye to my sister." Ava took out a scrap of paper from her satchel and wrote. The boy knelt by the river's edge and called, "Sister, I am safe now." Across the water, a silhouette smiled and waved until sunset reunited their shadows. The journal's page glowed, then snapped closed. The boy's features softened. He gave a nod of thanks and vanished in a swirl of autumn leaves. Ava's journal lay open to the next entry. Tell the soldier's lament. Night fell in Halcyon's Edge as Ava worked by the light of the book. Each story she wrote freed a soul, but the next chapter was more harrowing. The soldier's regret at abandoning his post, the mother's guilt for a love she could not protect, the poet's sorrow at unspoken words. Ava felt their anguish as her own. Her pen trembled, her tears blurred ink, but each finished story brought a crack in the mist, revealing a glimmer of dawn. With every soul freed, the world began to pulse with color once more. At the end of the mother's tale, the valley brightened, birdsong whispered through the mist, and the path home lay open. Yet the book's spine trembled, urging her onward. The final chapter awaited. The journal's last entry lay blank. Now write your own ending, reader, or remain where all stories pause. Ava's heart pounded. To finish the book, she had to script her own conclusion, an act as vulnerable as any confession. She sat beneath an ancient oak at dawn's first light and opened to the final page. The blank lines gleamed with promise and dread. What did she want? Home? Her old life? But was that her true story? Or did this world hold a purpose she'd never known? She closed her eyes, letting memories flow. The smell of rain-soaked streets, the warmth of her mother's embrace, the thrill of discovery in dusty archives. Yet between those, a longing for new tales, for the soul she'd met, and for the courage she'd found. Her hand hovered, then wrote, I, Ava Finch, by lantern's glow and pen's grace, choose to carry these stories into the world beyond. My journey does not end here, but begins anew. I walk towards sunrise, bearing the echoes of lives reclaimed. As the final words settled, the oak's branches shivered. The manuscript glowed in a burst of silver light. Ava opened her eyes to find herself back in Marlowe's reading room. Morning sun filtering through stained glass windows. The black leather book lay closed before her, its cover now bearing a simple inscription in gold. The Book of Endless Endings. She rose, limbs stiff, but spirit renewed. In her satchel, the leather-bound journal, a record of her adventures and those she'd freed, rested safely. Outside, the city stirred. The clang of blacksmiths, the clip-clop of horses, the murmur of dawn's bustle. But Ava was no longer the same. She clutched the journal to her chest, ready to launch into new stories, both her own and those waiting to be told. Years later, Ava Finch became a celebrated author and archivist. Her debut novel, Echoes of Halcyon's Edge, acclaimed for its haunting truth. She often returned to Marlowe's, where the Book of Endless Endings sat behind glass, open to its final blank page, a silent invitation to any reader brave enough to step inside. And sometimes on moonlit nights, a soft breeze would stir the pages, carrying voices, whispers of gratitude from those she freed, and a gentle reminder. Every reader is the author of their own destiny. Choose your ending wisely. Aldrich Vale stood at the edge of High Fall's crumbling docks, lantern in hand, as the last merchant ship of dusk creaked away. The sky above smoldered with violet embers, and in the distance, the black sea reflected the first pinpricks of starlight. Whispers had reached him in taverns and temple courtyards, tales of a vessel that would rise from the horizon when the two moons aligned, offering passage to those who dared to sail the night sea. Aldrich, once a scholar of mundane maps and coastal charts, now felt his compass heart point irresistibly toward that promise. For years he had compiled every scrap of lore, half-buried scrolls in desert ruins, mariners' journals stained with brine, and the trembling confessions of dreamers who had been touched by the ship's call. As the first silver moon crowned the sky, Aldrich raised his lantern high and whispered, "Show me the way." He did not wait long. At the edge of sight, just beyond the last swell of the ocean, a column of ethereal light appeared. no larger than a candle flame at first, then swelling into a radiant boil that cleaved the darkness. The night sea rippled beneath a phantom wake as the starward voyager emerged, her sails unfurling like wings of spun starlight. Her hull gleamed with nebular hues, deep purples, cerulean blues, and flecks of argent like a distant spiral galaxy. Aldrich's breath caught as the ship glided alongside the dock, though no plank lowered. A voice, neither male nor female, drifted across the luminous air. All who seek the voyage, step forth. Leave your world behind and embrace the path of starlit waters. With trembling determination, Aldrich stepped onto the deck and found the realm of mortal concern slip away beneath his boots. Inside the main cabin, Aldrich met the crew, an assembly of souls plucked from every shore and age. Captain Lysara Ale, whose eyes held the calm of distant suns, and whose laugh was like meteors streaking through night. Once a sky sailor who charted aerial currents, she now captained the night sea. Quartermaster Torin Grimm, a veteran of pirate galleons, his arms etched with star maps tattooed in silver ink. He traded cutthroat missions for charting constellations. Navigator Eliora Mir, a forlorn princess who fled an empire's throne. She read the night sea's currents as once she read court intrigue. Starlit harpist Nyx, whose music could calm cosmic storms, though her own heart trembled with unspoken centuries. Each welcomed Aldrich with solemn respect. The voyage demands more than skill, Lysara told him. It demands the courage to face the darkness between the stars and within your own soul. That evening, Aldrich took his place at the helm while the starward voyager sailed deeper into the firmament. Below, the ocean vanished into velvet black. Above, constellations wove new patterns as the ship passed. He stood beneath the great lantern, a globe of living starlight, and breathed in the night's hush. In its stillness, the voice of the night sea whispered promises. Here, time slumbers, pain loosens its hold. Here, dreams unfurl on currents of gold. Here, your heart may find what it seeks, lost hopes reborn in silent mystique. Aldrich's pulse quickened as he gazed out over the infinite expanse. Sleep claimed him gently, and in his dreams he walked among constellations, trading words with Orion, catching comets in his hands and mapping his own destiny among the stars. On the third night, a sudden tumult rent the air. Stars flickered violently as the night sea roiled with unseen tempests. Torin shouted for lines to be cast off. Nyx's harp sounded an urgent chord. Waves of cosmic energy threatened to capsize the vessel. From the crow's nest, Torin bellowed, "Brace for the starlight squall. Harden your souls." Lysara stood at the helm, her silhouette framed by a corona of starlight. With calm authority, she guided the ship into the eye of the storm. Aldrich gripped the wheel, feeling the pulse of the night sea resonate in his bones. Lightning like silver threads scribed across the void. Thunder echoed as though Mars himself rumbled. But the crew, united by purpose, held fast. Nyx's harp voice rang out, weaving an ancient lullaby of celestial harmony. The storm's fury abated, the cosmic winds stilled, and the night sea lay once more like polished glass beneath the moon's embrace. As the calm settled, Illyra consulted her charts. "There is an isle ahead," she said. "It lies outside all known realms, a place where forgotten souls wander." Under a sky spangled with nebulae, the starward voyager approached a small world of black stone, circling a crater lake that shimmered with ghostly phosphorescence. The crew lowered a skiff, and Aldrich joined them in landing. On the shore, the air was chill with unspoken grief. Wisps of pale light drifted through the air, echoes of souls who had perished without remembrance. Among them, Aldrich glimpsed faces he had once loved and forgotten. A childhood friend, a lost love, a teacher who had believed in him. Tears pricked his eyes as he realized the cost of memory lost. Captain Lysara placed a hand on his shoulder. "Here, we offer remembrance. Speak their names, tell their stories, and set them free. By lantern light, the crew spoke names into the night. Calvin, my dear friend. Isabel, your laughter lingers. Master Bram, your wisdom guides me still. With each name, the mist coalesced, then ascended in a burst of silver light. Souls granted passage to the stars. When the last echo faded, the isle fell silent, and the night sea awaited their return. Back aboard the starward Voyager, the crew prepared for the next leg of their journey. The path of promises, a ribbon of neon currents said to lead to the realm of tomorrow's dreams. Aldrich studied Illyra's charts. They spanned 100 light years across nothingness, visible only under precise stellar alignments. Should they succeed, the path would carry them to a place where lost hopes could be reborn in waking life. Night after night, the ship glided beneath constellations unnameable, and Aldrich chronicled each discovery in his journal. He found that the night sea responded to intention. The crew's unified hopes quieted cosmic turbulence, while doubt summoned new squalls. And with each passing day, Aldrich felt his own heart healed by the voyages they undertook. His sister's fate, his own regrets, dreams once abandoned to the shores of time. Finally, they reached the path of promises, a great eddy of turquoise currents swirling beneath the twin moons Alden and Valora. Captain Lacera guided the starward Voyager into the swirl. Time felt elastic. Minutes stretched into hours, and dawn arrived twice as they sailed beneath the twin lanterns. At the core of the path lay the mirror of tomorrow, a crystalline arch rising from the currents, its surface rippling like water. Beneath its arch, each crew member glimpsed visions of the future. Aldrich saw himself sharing the voyage's lessons with new generations, a teacher of the night sea. Anya glimpsed her village uplifted by the knowledge of remembrance. Torin saw a world free of grudges, bound by understanding. Nyx beheld her music echoing across star systems, healing cosmic wounds. Lacera's gaze held a quiet hope of home and of voyages yet uncharted. Standing together, they touched the mirror's surface. A surge of radiant light coursed through them, weaving their futures into the night sea's eternal tapestry. When the starward Voyager emerged from the path of promises, Ember Falls Harbor lay beneath a sunrise touched by nebular hues. The townsfolk gathered on the piers, eyes skyward, as the ship descended from the heavens. Dawn's light revealed the vessel's sails shimmering with starlight. As the crew disembarked, each carried a token from the voyage. Aldrich's maps studded with star coordinates, Anya's polished keepsakes of remembrance, Torin's silver ink constellations, Nyx's harp now etched with cosmic runes. They found Emberfall transformed, a city awakened to the magic of the night sea. In the harbor square, a monument rose, a brass compass fixed to granite, its needle ever spinning toward the stars, a tribute to the voyage that bridged sky and soul. Years later, the starward Voyager still sailed beneath the stars, her lantern flaring like a distant galaxy. Captain Lacera's name was etched in every mariner's tale. Aldrich's lectures on celestial cartography filled academies. The Order of Remembered Souls tended the Isle of Lost Souls, and the Festival of Two Moons celebrated the Path of Promises. Yet the voyage never truly ended. On moonless nights, those who yearned for distant shores looked skyward, hoping to glimpse her sails against the night sea. For as long as hearts sought wonder beyond the horizon, the starward Voyager would answer the call, guiding the lost, rekindling dreams, and sailing forever beneath the boundless stars.